What is socially accepted when you're beautiful, but not accepted when you're ugly? Story 1. Deliberately opening the sleeping pod of a hot girl during a long trip to colonize a new planet after your own hibernation was interrupted when your pod malfunctioned. Story 2. Being the strong, silent type only works if you're handsome. People don't want to explore if there's any depth to you if you're not aesthetically pleasing. Story 3. Winking seductively, I would say. I do agree with others, though. Just about everything is socially unacceptable if you're ugly. Wink with both of your eyes at the same time to double the allure. Story 4. Oh my gosh, I eat so much. I ate like an entire bag of chips. It's funny, but when you're actually fat, it's like, yeah, no duh, loser. Story 5. Not a popular opinion, but from watching drama within my friend group, cheating. Average guys cheat, girl dumps him and never thinks about him again. Hot guy cheats, girl says it's over but is dating him again within a month or two. Probably not many people would admit it. They'll all say cheating is unacceptable regardless of looks, but as far as I've seen, their actions tell another story. You have shallow people in your life. Story 6. Being quiet or introverted. If you're attractive, then you're cute or sweet or reserved. If you're ugly, then you're awkward, creepy, or have no life. Story 7. Dressing down for an occasion. For example, hot guy can wear jeans to a semi-formal event and pull it off. Looks fine, no worries. Ugly guy wears jeans to a semi-formal event and he looks lazy and underdressed. To be honest, I think this also correlates greatly with how the clothes fit. In my stereotypical vision, the attractive dude wears jeans that fit well. Then the ugly dude just wears whatever his mom bought him. People often don't seem to understand how much properly fitting clothes contribute to being attractive. Story 8. Just being nice in general. Lol. When I was in high school, there was this guy named James, and everyone always blasted him for his appearance, how annoying and creepy he was, etc. I tried to be nice to him, but I'd be lying if I said I enjoyed his presence. One day in class, I was talking about how I felt insecure that day, and he said, "Don't feel that way, you're beautiful." And I said thank you, but everyone else around us laughed. A more attractive guy in the same class called a friend of mine beautiful, and everyone says, "Aw, so sweet, you guys should date." I don't know what happened to James after high school, but I hope he's doing well. Nobody deserves that kind of treatment. Story 9. Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy said it best. Ugly people are lucky. When someone loves them, they know it's because of what's on the inside. Beautiful people can never really tell. Story 10. Saying you're ugly. If you're actually ugly, you just end up making everyone uncomfortable. If you're beautiful, people tend to fall all over themselves trying to reassure you that you're beautiful. I'm ugly. Anyone? Just a quick side note, if you like our content and love listening to our stories, please press the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get updates from our uploads. And now back to the stories. Story 11. Being a criminal sometimes. I remember when that beautiful convict guy was floating around the internet for a while, the one that got the modeling contract. He recently did a show where he worked for a big designer. Story 12. Bothering people who are reading. After years of sitting in coffee shops reading, I realized I was curt with anyone who tried to engage me in conversation unless they were an attractive girl. That's a great test though. If you want to know how attractive you are objectively, just interrupt someone reading and see how they respond. Story 13. Wearing more revealing clothes or out-of-date clothing. If an ugly guy wears 80s or 90s clothing, people will think he shops at Value Village. If a good-looking guy does it, he's considering a vintage dresser. Same with wearing clothes that are pushing the limits of fashion. Story 14. Taking your shirt off. Story 15. Be persistent in pursuit of your crush, at least in movies anyway. I've seen this one posted a few times already here, and I feel it's more something people get away with in movies, and people in movies tend to be more good-looking than average people. I assure you, behavior that becomes stalker-like sucks regardless of how attractive the guy is. Story 16. Being dumb. Stereotypical dumb blonde or musclehead, you've still got your looks. Ugly and dumb, you're double screwed, man. To give a somewhat serious answer, boasting of your prowess. Story 17. People are psychologically more inclined to believe someone good-looking is skillful at whatever they're claiming to be good at, despite no evidence. In fact, there's something called the halo effect that says along with beauty come all sorts of other positive characteristics. We have a tendency to think beautiful people are funnier, more friendly, more intelligent, more exciting, in possession of better social skills, warmer, more interesting, poised, and even more independent. Story 18. My sister and I call ourselves Princess Diary Pretty because we have frizzy curly hair, but when straightened, we clean up nice. We tried an experiment for 2 weeks. Week 1, wear sweats, no hair straightening, and no makeup. Week 2, wear cute outfits, straighten hair, do makeup, and wear perfume. I wish we had filmed because the difference in the way we were treated was insane, by men and women. Week 1, people would let doors slam in my face, treated me meanly, and didn't notice me. Week 2, everyone smiled at me, held doors, called me honey, and got invited out with coworkers. I even had my coffee and donut paid for. Anyone who says that looks don't matter is living in a fantasy world. Story 19. This super hot girl farted once in my high school class. People thought it was hilarious and some of the football players hugged her and thought it was awesome. Later that year in English class, an overweight girl let a ripper go and was mocked and ridiculed and was being told she was disgusting. Story 20. Weirdly, being polite to the opposites. I'm generally a very polite and friendly person. When I was fat, men would constantly go out of their way to make sure I knew they had no interest, even though I hadn't given any hint of being interested and was already in a relationship. Lost weight after high school and my freshman year of university. People who didn't give me the time of day in high school went out of their way to talk to me and stay in touch via social media. Story 21. Narcissism and shallowness. There's a ton of vitriol directed at unattractive women who spend a lot of time on their appearance, putting makeup on a pig. Unless you're naturally attractive, there's this idea that you shouldn't even bother trying to look nice because who do you think you're fooling? You'll always be ugly, so just accept your ugliness. You see it a lot directed at heavy women on this site because other people don't find you attractive. People feel like you don't deserve to feel or find yourself attractive. Meanwhile, hot girls can spend an inordinate amount of time on their appearance, documenting their appearance with very little pushback. People like looking at them, so it's okay they like looking at themselves so much too. I'm sure more good-looking people get away with personalities. Story 22. Flirting. It's basically harassment if you're ugly. I worked with a guy who was basically an adult Pugsley Adams. The dude was ugly. Oddly enough, he had a very attractive wife. Came in one day to find out he'd been fired for harassment. His, I thought, innocent, "you look nice today" style comments that apparently made the women in the office feel uncomfortable. Never mind the fact that he was married and just being nice, in my opinion. Meanwhile, 2 rows away, a different colleague had slept with half of the eligible women in the office and flirted shamelessly with the rest. Not only did they put up with it, but they also brought him Starbucks. The only difference? He was attractive. Story 23. Being weird. People will tolerate a great deal of weirdness, strangeness, and psycho behavior from an attractive person, whereas these traits would be unforgivable in an ugly person. There was a social experiment conducted where a catfish profile of a beautiful blonde was created. When guys talked to her, the catfishers responded with the weirdest, bizarre, off-the-wall, creepy answers, but guys still kept pursuing. People will tolerate a lot of weirdness if it comes alongside hotness. It's being quirky versus being, what's wrong with him or her? Story 24. Going on about how inner beauty is more important than outer beauty. If you're attractive and say this, you're humble and empowering, but if you're ugly and say it, you're just seen as whining. Story 25. Being socially forward. Interrupting people while talking, hitting on people, giving unsolicited advice, etc. Being attractive gives you an automatic +4 to charisma. Story 26. Perhaps not entirely what the question asked, but I need to get this off my chest. About 10 years ago, I was asked to come for an interview for selling Bose speakers at one of their B2B outlets. It was an entirely professional deal, and the HR guy on the phone could not stress enough how important knowledge about sound systems was, so I go in and only one other guy shows up. We assume they need more people, so we both fancy our chances. Only thing is, this guy has no idea how speakers work, no idea what or who Bose is, and displayed a generally carefree attitude. At least he was wearing a shirt and not a polo with his jeans and sneakers. I got called first, and my interview went on for over 30 minutes, getting grilled about all things imaginable and then some more. I was pretty confident about the material, because I knew that stuff, and I thought it went really well. So I come out, and this guy's bricks because he did not realize this was a serious job interview. We had built up some rapport while waiting, so when he asked me if I could wait for him for some moral support, we were headed back to the same area too. I said okay. His interview lasted 5 minutes. He walked out with an offer letter. All they asked him was his name and his background. I was politely asked to reapply after 12 months. This guy was equally confused. He was not a scumbag, in fact. He was a really nice guy. But even when you're selling high-end conference room sound systems to people who have no time to even listen to your pitch, Bose wanted good looks over skills. Did I mention this guy looked like a cross between Christopher Reeve and Elvis Presley? Story 27. Anything nerd culture. Like actual nerd culture, like playing MTG, D&D, and watching anime. Girls aren't going to care if a decent-looking guy does any of that, but they will hard stereotype a dude if he's overweight and or doesn't take good care of himself. That skinny kid with greasy hair that likes anime? What a weeb. Oh, but that handsome guy who watches the same stuff is cool. The chubby fat guy playing Warcraft is a loser. But the hot girl playing just has such an interesting character. Story 28. Has anyone here read any of the 50 Shades books? Rich plus handsome equals literally a free pass on anything. If the guy in 50 Shades of Grey had a beer belly and the movie took place in a trailer park, there would be a far different sentiment about the movie. Yeah, because then I'd actually watch it. Story 29. I'm a recruiter, so I can speak from experience when saying that if you're young and good-looking, you'll have a much better chance at getting the job, regardless of experience. Story 30. Conversation or small talk, I guess. This just happened recently to a friend. Matched a girl on Tinder who looked very attractive in her photos. They had hour-long phone conversations and day-long texting conversations. Went to go meet her for the first time and he felt catfished. Apparently she was much larger than the pictures led. I told him you gotta expect that a bit, but he says it was a crazy amount, like he felt tricked. Anyway, after knowing she was not very attractive, he said she was awful at conversations, very boring, and asked the same repetitive questions to not let a conversation die. Looking back in his old texts, she was always awful at conversation. Him too, to be fair. But he was never bored when he thought it was a really hot girl asking about his day at work, or his college program, etc. There's a great article out there that completely backs this up. A journalist posted pictures of her incredibly attractive female friend on a dating site. She made her personality as horrendous as possible. The men didn't care, as long as she was hot. Story 31. I used to live in San Francisco. Years ago, maybe still today, I don't know, the cable car operators, the brakeman and conductor, were always strong young men. The brakeman position, especially, requires a lot of upper body strength, and they had a sort of elitist attitude about being cable car men. A lot of times, they affected a sort of 1890s look, with a handlebar mustache, etc., all part of the fun. These guys would notoriously let pretty girls ride for free. All the girls had to do was give the crew a smile. It was a thing, in the 1970s especially, among young women and teenage girls. Sort of a little inside joke. I'm pretty enough to ride the cable cars for free. This was before waiting lines and carnival ride bullshit, back when the cable cars cost a quarter and regular people occasionally used them for regular transportation, instead of like now where the cable cars are like some Walt Disney amusement ride. I had a girlfriend back then who was a beautiful amateur ballet dancer. She danced in the chorus, but she was very talented and in excellent shape. The day she finally got asked to pay her fare in the cable cars, she was 24, was an awful day for her. She was inconsolable and cried all day. She felt like she was over the hill and that her beauty and youth were gone. It was very sad. So back in the day, beautiful girls didn't pay for cable car rides. Story 32. Bad at your job. I worked with a guy called Fabio. He was early 40s with kind of long wavy hair, a handsome face, looked like someone modeled a statue of a Roman general after him. The guy was terrible at his job. Every time I went to his desk, he was watching movies. When he left, we discovered 6 months of work he just straight up didn't do. He worked hard for about 2 years, built up a reputation for being a good worker, and then promptly coasted on that reputation and his good looks. Dude used to do that hair flip thing when talking with women, and they'd practically go all Elvis fans over him. Story 33. Apparently, cheating. Know a girl that's very, very attractive. She was cheating on her boyfriend. Her one friend wholly supported it, said, "Sometimes someone better just comes along." My friends seemed to think it was no big deal either. One said, "At the end of the day, the most anyone can say about cheating is that it's wrong." My wife seemed to want to give the girl the benefit of the doubt, said, "We can't consider her the bad guy here. We don't know her whole story. Maybe her current boyfriend is a..." Ask your wife how she would react if you cheated on her and told people that. Story 34. Being lazy and unemployed or working a low-paying job. Attractive people tend to get the "they're finding their way in life" excuse, as though the only reason they're working at KFC is to afford their modeling and sports career. Others just get, "they need to stop being so fat and lazy and get a real job. I bet they eat all the chicken and have no friends, etc., etc." People are judgmental. Story 35. The problem of someone's attractiveness clouding your judgment about them is self-reinforcing. As a dude, I've noticed social pressure to avoid treating a hot girl as anything but an angel. Even if she's an awful person and deserves to be called out in something, I'll get flack for doing it in the following manners. A. Come on, man. She doesn't deserve that. You're being too harsh. B. Why aren't you trying to impress her? Are you gay? Lol. But then, maybe if I was more attractive, people would take my criticisms of attractive people more seriously. Not sure if it makes a difference, but I asked Reddit how attractive I was once on an alt a while ago. I was told, average, but probably above average if you were better dressed. Story 36. Letting yourself go a little. What I mean is, a beautiful man can let his hair get shaggy, go a week or two without shaving and bum around in jeans and a t-shirt. He's so rugged. Look how carefree he is. An ugly man does the same thing, and he needs to put himself together. No wonder he doesn't have a girlfriend. A beautiful woman decides to bum around the house in sweats with virtually no makeup and her hair tied back because she's in no mood to actually put in the effort to do it today. After all, she's just hanging out at home with a cat this afternoon. She's a low-maintenance natural beauty. An ugly woman does the same thing, and she's a frumpy, lonely cat lady. Story 37. One night after a dinner date with my high school girlfriend, we were driving home when a bad stomachache hit her suddenly. She tells me to pull over immediately, hikes up her dress, squats, and blasts diarrhea all over the side of the road. If I wasn't so attracted to her, I would have thought it was disgusting. Story 38. I've noticed that when a male customer flirts with one of the girls at my work, his level of creepiness is directly related to how attracted they are to him. Story 39. Everything. I was blessed with a little bit of beauty, but for every ounce I didn't have, I had to fill with charisma. My sister was born hot. She feels like the world should bow to her, and it does. It's been proven every single time I've ever been out with her. I have to work 3 times as hard to accomplish the same thing. Sometimes I fail. She has never once been denied anything. Story 40. As a woman who loves video games, I spend a lot of time gaming and streaming. Before I gained weight, viewers as a whole were a lot more friendly and willing to watch my stream. Now I have a health condition and I look pretty rough. I get virtually no views now. Story 41. This more specifically applies to weight, but it's considered extremely attractive to talk about how much food you eat, how much you love meat, carbs, cheese, junk food. If you're a thin person, more so if you're a thin and fit woman than a man. Take, for example, Jennifer Lawrence at the height of her popularity, gushing about how much she loved potatoes and bread and expounding on how she was obese by Hollywood standards, when in reality, she's probably skinnier than 90% of the people you've ever encountered in your life, and how people celebrated this, saying she was down to earth. If Melissa McCarthy went on about how she loved cheese and potatoes, she'd probably be portrayed as having no shame or being gross. Story 42. Public displays of affection. If two beautiful people kiss and or make out in a public setting, very few people are going to bat an eye. It's aesthetically pleasing, almost like a scene from a movie. If Jabba the Hutt and the Wicked Witch are making out, there's going to be disgust and interruption. If you want to get a little risky with your couple life and you get caught in the act, you're much more likely to catch a public indecency, or worse, charge if you're an unattractive couple. Story 43. I am generally considered an unattractive woman, and can tell you that I or we don't get away with being playful or flirtatious. We are expected to know our place and not make men feel awkward by being friendly towards them, or, God forbid, playfully flirting. We're also not supposed to try to look good, because we should know that there's no point to it, but we can't let ourselves look unkempt either because then we're lazy and slovenly. Story 44. Your courtship experiences vary widely. He tracked me down and showed up at my doorstep this morning with my fave pumpkin latte. How romantic. Versus, I'm calling the cops, you creepy stalker. He's so shy, it's so cute. Versus, he never talks. He's weird and creepy. He went to a comic book convention? Such a nerd, so cute. Versus, he went to a comic book convention? The neckbeard. Lives with his parents? Aw, he must really care about family. Versus, he still lives with his parents? What a loser. Story 45. Back when I worked a crappy customer service job at CVS, I would always treat every customer with the utmost respect and ask them how their day was going and if they found all of their items okay. Being generally low on the attractiveness scale, every time I did this to a female customer age 30 and below or so, they would always act as if I was just full-on hitting on them and give off a, how dare this guy think he can actually talk to me type of body language. A lot of the time, they wouldn't even reply and or give eye contact at all, and would fast walk out of the store once the transaction was finished. The irony behind that is that I'm gay. Story 46. As someone who has ranged from very obese to very trim over the years, I can definitely say that literally everything is different. When you're skinny and you eat a meal, people try to get you to eat more. When you're fat and you eat the same meal, people ask if you're on a diet. Strangers are nicer to you, most customer service is better, you get promoted faster. It's actually quite shocking to live the difference.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this next video. The YouTube algorithm really thinks you like it.